Hey, it's Dean with
Jeff Foxworthy, and I just stopped him. I stopped him and said, I want to shake your hand because I've spent so many hours watching you, because he is my source of good quality, unbiased Bulldog information right here.
All right.
Yeah, there we
Thanks,
go.
Jeff. I appreciate it, man.
Go Dogs.
So I'm coming around the corner there underneath the stadium, like I always do, and somebody stops me, which is not abnormal at Georgia games by any stretch. But this time I was like, I know who this is, and it was Jeff Foxworthy, and it was, you can see from the video he is extremely excited to be at Georgia and in the stadium, and it got me to thinking. You've got all these celebrity fans, and certainly Jeff Foxworthy, who's had network television shows, is one of them. If you don't know who Jeff Foxworthy is, you might be extremely young. You certainly are not a redneck, as he would say. But he came to fame in the late 80s, 90s, certainly in the early 2000s with a huge blue collar comedy tour. I hope I'm getting that right. But it got me to thinking about all of the sort of celebrity fans that have loved Georgia forever. A lot of them went to school at Georgia. I'm going to talk about those guys and some of the experiences I've had running into them, if you will, along the way. Make certain you're getting DAWGSTRUCTION. You could be watching this video 5 years from now, but you still want to make certain you get DAWGSTRUCTION. It's the story of Georgia's 2021 national championship season. Diagrams, photos, stories that you've never heard before. Make sure you pick that up. And if it's still 2022, hey, go ahead and grab it before time runs out on us. So Jeff Foxworthy was the guest picker on College Game Day in for the Kentucky game, which is October 16th, 2021. And typically, guest pickers can come in and they just kind of leave. They don't always stick around for games. But in his case, I asked him, I was like, why did somebody that went to Georgia Tech, what is this? Is this like a whole thing? Like, you're a Georgia fan? And he actually went through and explained what happened as he was growing up. So Jeff Foxworthy grew up in South Atlanta by the airport in Hateville, and he can correct me if he's Jeff. You can come on in it whenever. I've been meaning to get in touch with you, but um, he couldn't afford to go to Georgia. So he had to work a job not so far from where I grew up as he was going to Georgia Tech. Now, he eventually dropped out, but his big story, and he tells us all the time, is that he was at, I don't know which game it was. It must have been 1979 Tech, Georgia. But anyway, it was in Atlanta, and he was in the Tech section as a student rooting for Georgia. And I don't know if he had to fight his way out of there, because that was a very different time about 40 years ago with Tech in Georgia. But he couldn't go to Georgia; he couldn't afford it, and he, I think, maintains being a very big Georgia fan to this day. Now, another guy. Well, there's two. First of all, Quavo. If you don't know who Quavo is, you certainly might be a redneck, right? So Quavo grew up not that far from me either. Quavo grew up in Berkmar. Oh, well, I should say Quavo grew up just across the DeKalb County line in Gwinnett County. And Quavo is a certainly star in the hip hop game. And played at Berkmar, which is, I'm trying to remember what town that is. I guess it's Lilburn. But grew up in Lilburn and went to Berkmar. Became has become a huge, huge star in terms of social media brand. I'm not sure there's a bigger Georgia fan. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think so. And Quavo, um, you know, he started hanging out at Georgia around 2017, a little bit like before the Rose Bowl. And so, you know, Atlanta's always had great hip hop. I mean, period. Outkast, but even before that. And Jermaine Dupri. But with Quavo, he started coming around, and like he was at he was at the SEC championship game. And I'm not going to say which player I texted afterwards who had a picture with him, but I didn't realize that Quavo was Quavo. I thought he was somebody else. All right, that shows how out of the loop I am on the hip hop scene now. It's not the '90s anymore, but um, you know, the player laughed and texted back. He's like, "Man, that's Quavo, man. How can you not know that?" Well, from that point forward, you knew it. And Quavo's been around a lot. So, SEC championship game, Rose Bowl, that picture with him and Rodrigo Blankenship might be the funniest picture ever. But it's those two, and then at the national championship game, I've got images of Quavo coming off with the team. Listen, he was tight and continues to be tight with guys that played at Georgia. Richard LeCount and him are not just, I mean, they're friends, clearly. And, that's not surprising. And I mean, honestly, that was what was missing in the 80s and 90s to me. There were not a lot of black fans of Georgia. They weren't certainly not as visible. Um, and now Georgia is different than it was in the state and the university. And so you're getting a much broader group of fans. Quavo being one of them for sure. I mean, Quavo is a super fan, and he helps with recruiting. I mean, I don't know that he literally helps, but having somebody with that much sway in the hip hop world. You telling me you don't? Anyway, so Quavo is another one. The last one we'll talk about is Luke Bryan. Okay, Luke Bryan. Sorry, I don't want to add the T. So the Luke Bryan story is not that great, but I do not like country music. Sorry, it's not for me, and I'm not going to go on my country music riff right now. But we're there in Nashville in 2013, and I do not know who Luke Bryan is. He just is some guy. This happens a lot. Like Lady Antebellum, or what they used to be, Lady Antebellum. They're big Georgia fans. Ryan Seacrest. There's a lot of Georgia fans, and I get it for sure. But Luke Bryan, I don't know who he is. I don't know country music, nothing. I grew up in the suburbs, okay? I grew up playing basketball in the city. I did not know country music at all. And so the cheerleaders were on the sideline at Vanderbilt. Nashville, obviously, a big country music spot. The cheerleaders at Georgia are going crazy, and it's the Vanderbilt game, so like nobody really cares. And like the cheerleaders again are going absolutely nuts. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on over here? And like they all wanted to take a picture with this guy. And like he was probably 5 or 10 years younger than me, whatever it was. So I was like, okay, And so they take the pictures, and then like one cheerleader was going nuts about it. And she was like, "Can you take a picture of me with just Luke Bryan?" Or Luke Bryan. Sorry, Luke. Luke, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I mess up people's names constantly, and people mess mine up constantly too. But this cheerleader, she was like, "Hey, I really want a picture." So take the picture, and like um and like 10 minutes later, I go back over to her. I'm like, who was that again? She's like, you don't know who Luke Bryan is? And I was like, no, I'm sorry, I don't know anybody. So, but she was psychotic to get that picture. I'm going to show these as they roll over the screen. But it shows the power of the brand that is Georgia with these, moderately. I would definitely, those three are celebrities. I don't think there's any question about it. That two of them are musical acts. Kim Basinger paid for the lights at the tennis courts. I don't want to get that wrong. The name of it, Dan McGill Tennis Facility. Anyway, Kenny Rogers was around Athens a lot back in the day. I mean, I would say Herschel Walker's a celebrity, but he's a politician now, so I don't know if that's quite the same thing. All politicians love the school of their home state, it seems. But obviously Goldberg. I'm just rattling people off now off the top of my head, but those three, and that had some interaction with some of them, um, was fun too. But you never know. You literally never know who you will bump into on the sidelines at a Georgia game, or as is the case with Jeff Foxworthy, underneath the stadium. Like I was leaving after I don't even know what I was doing. That's where the photographers are underneath the closed end of the end zone. And here comes Jeff Foxworthy. No security, nothing. I didn't know who he was. I thought he was just like some, fan that watches these videos because there's a lot of y'all that stop me at games, particularly on the street, which is cool. I don't care. It's great. It's great to always meet people at games. If it's at the game, my hearing is not the greatest. And often when people say Dean, it sounds like D, which means defense. And I can't hear that. So I'm not ignoring you if that's the case. I'm just not great with hearing after 2 decades of being in stadiums and people screaming. So that's that commentary. But anyway, make sure you're getting DAWGSTRUCTION. Thanks for watching. We'll see you over on the website.